The Assassin's Creed franchise has changed and moulded the way that open worlds use their traversal, the way that we interact with the world when we're going from point A to point B. The Assassin's Creed franchise started off as being a Prince of Persia game, specifically called Prince of Persia Assassins. Very creative, I know. But they later on decided to make the Assassin's Creed franchise its own thing, and fun little fact here, the original version of Assassin's Creed was run on the Prince of Persia engine, and then they later developed a new engine for the parkour system and the vast open world in the original Assassin's Creed. The way that the Assassin's Creed franchise has changed open worlds as we know it is specifically in the traversal side of things. We've seen the Assassin's Creed system of parkour being used in games such as Horizon Zero Dawn, Tomb Raider, and even Breath of the Wild, showing that so many franchises that use this parkour method are using it because it's fun and engaging to the player. The parkour systems in Assassin's Creed are a character in of themselves. I remember being very young and playing the original Assassin's Creed at a time where I probably shouldn't have been playing the original Assassin's Creed, and just climbing up rooftops, running, jumping off buildings into haystacks, and just having an absolute blast with the parkour mechanics. And when I was younger, I just thought that that was the game, just running around, jumping, and I still had so much fun with those mechanics, and it just proves how well they hold up in an open world environment. The Assassin's Creed franchise has spanned so many different eras, from ancient Greece to Victorian London, and therefore Ubisoft had to adapt their parkour mechanics to best suit those environments. Most notably in Assassin's Creed Syndicate, they added a rope launcher to get up the 3-story buildings, which perhaps wasn't the best idea in the long run, but it suited the gameplay for that specific game. But to get back on track with the original Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed sold over 10 million copies, which is absolutely outstanding considering it was such an early entry into the PS3 and Xbox 360's lifecycle. And to think that Ubisoft thought that the Assassin's Creed franchise would flop straight off the bat, and initially they would have had another year of development for other side quests, but they didn't because they didn't want to put too much effort into a game that they thought would possibly flop. But just imagine how good the game would have been if they'd added those side quests and realised the potential of the franchise and how influential it would be in the open world genre. The first Assassin's Creed takes place in the Third Crusade, specifically in 1191 AD. In Jerusalem, Acre and Damascus, where you play as the assassin Altair ibn La'ahad. After being arrogant and foolish on a mission, he is demoted and has to learn all of his skills again by taking out multiple Templar targets. The story is just a backdrop for the open world environment where you really start to have fun and use the environment in combat scenarios as well as main story missions. Utilising the parkour system to be able to take out targets in any way you want really brings a more personal element to the overall gaming experience for the original Assassin's Creed, and then later on the entire franchise as well. The first game has a real sense of realism when it comes to its parkour system, much more than any other entries in the series have done so far. Assassin's Creed 1 hasn't got over-exaggerated jumping and climbing animations, they're more naturalistic in their overall appearance. And therefore it feels like you could go out and do those exact same things, but I do not recommend jumping off a building and trying to land into a haystack, you may fail. The one thing that I love about the Assassin's Creed franchise, and specifically the earlier games, so AC1 I'm going to say through Assassin's Creed Unity, have more realistic environments where the parkour can be utilised properly. Especially compared to Syndicate, where you have to use a rope launcher to climb up a building, and the gaps between buildings because of the large streets just don't help the parkour mechanics. And then you also have Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, where they've gone for a more RPG approach with a larger open world and smaller cities, and therefore the parkour can't really be utilised in such an extravagant way as it has been in the earlier entries in the franchise. And by saying that, I'm not trying to knock Syndicate, Origins or Odyssey. I'm just trying to look at this from a gameplay perspective, where the player is using the parkour system to traverse the world, and I feel like it was underutilized in those 3 games. Especially because the parkour system is so iconic to the Assassin's Creed franchise. Assassin's Creed 1 really changed the way that everyone looked at open world traversal, from climbing up walls to running and jumping. I can almost guarantee that every open world game that you can find in the past 10 years has some small little bit of Assassin's Creed DNA sprinkled within the game's traversal system. And it's quite insane to think that Ubisoft took the Prince of Persia Sands of Time parkour mechanics, put them into an open world environment and obviously changed a few things, and how much that has impacted games that we know and love from the past 10 years. The parkour system has changed quite dramatically in the Assassin's Creed franchise throughout all of its entries from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Assassin's Creed Rogue was the last Assassin's Creed that withheld the original DNA of the parkour system that we knew from the original Assassin's Creed, and when we hit next gen, they changed it up slightly, and it just felt like a parkour system 2.0, and they most recently changed it once again in Origins and Odyssey, and I'm pretty sure they'll change it again in a couple of years' time. The parkour system in Assassin's Creed isn't the only thing that's influenced other open world games. For example, in games like Horizon Zero Dawn, you climb up to get a vantage point to see the entirety of a section of the map. And that is one of the key things in Assassin's Creed, climbing up a massive building to get a vantage point and to synchronize a certain section of the map so you can find all of the side quests, side objectives, and also the collectibles. The Assassin's Creed franchise has such an influence on the open world gaming genre, and I really don't feel like people give it enough credit. The open world environments in the original Assassin's Creed were astounding, to say the least. In 2007, people were blown away by what Ubisoft had created. 3 open world environments that were large, you could traverse every single aspect of it, from the ground to the rooftops. People were blown away, and I just feel like people don't recognise that anymore and just see the Assassin's Creed franchise as a franchise that just releases a new game every year with a different setting, and that stigma is still present even with the newest entries in the Assassin's Creed franchise. The parkour system is really what Assassin's Creed is about. It's not just about the assassins and Templars, it's about the parkour mechanics and the open world environment. Even with the newer entries in the Assassin's Creed franchise, such as Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where they've done away with the assassins and Templars being the main focus of the story, and instead have gone their own separate route, and made the game sort of feel like it should have been its own thing, rather than a mainline entry into the Assassin's Creed franchise. And this just proves that the parkour system is the key bit of DNA that will stay with every single Assassin's Creed. It's not the hidden blade anymore, it's not the animus realistically anymore, it's not the main story with the assassins and Templars, it's the parkour system that is the foundation of the Assassin's Creed franchise. And when other game franchises use the Assassin's Creed parkour system, they don't always utilise it in the same way and use it to differing degrees. For example, in the Tomb Raider series, the new one being more specific, they utilise it in a way that it's just climbing up walls and jumping over certain rooftops, but it's not utilised in the same extravagant way as it is in the Assassin's Creed franchise. But then you look at games like Breath of the Wild that use it in a more realistic way, having a stamina bar to make sure that you can't climb forever. And I just like the way that multiple game franchises have taken the parkour system from the Assassin's Creed franchise and tried to utilise it in a way that makes it unique to that specific game. Franchises don't just use the Assassin's Creed parkour formula, they use the foundations that Assassin's Creed laid for them to use a parkour system that fits their game both gameplay wise and aesthetically as well. The Assassin's Creed series has brought open world games to a new level, and that started off with the first Assassin's Creed that has now expanded into multiple different games in a series and also whittled its way into other games that are completely unrelated to the Assassin's Creed franchise. And to me that just shows the power and influence that the Assassin's Creed series has had on gaming in general, specifically in the open world gaming genre, and how different developers and developers studios from all around the world look to utilise that parkour system that has been made so famous by Assassin's Creed and utilise it in a way that is creative and expansive on the foundations that Assassin's Creed 1 created with its parkour system. And one of the main reasons I created this video was not only because the first Assassin's Creed is one of my favourite games, but also so people don't forget how important the Assassin's Creed franchise really is, even if their opinions have changed on the Assassin's Creed franchise as multiple entries have been released. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, then subscribe and turn on that notification button so you don't miss another upload from me. So thank you and goodbye.